Hey everybody, welcome back. Another Music Wednesdays. Leslie's out of town. She'll be back, but I can't believe it's been a year since my friend Matt Downer was last in here to talk about the Old Time Fiddlers Convention. You revived it. What'd you say? 10 years ago?
This will be the 10th year. Yeah,
but
2010. So the first one.
The original was 1925.
25. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. In fact, we're probably going to go. I was thinking we'll probably go to school a little bit here today. Old school and new school.
Yeah.
Because Matt, one of the things I love talking to Matt about is history of music, and I think that's part of what you love about it as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Discovering it, reviving it, bringing it back, making it live again.
That's right.
So to give people an idea of what we're talking about, let's go ahead, if you don't mind, play something for us, and then we'll
Coming to you live, Chattanooga, Tennessee, home of the fastest internet and the slowest time traveler. All right. Oh, my girl, my pretty little girl, the girl I left behind. Try to kiss, but I missed the girl I left behind me. Every time I go down the road, it's always dark and cloudy. Every time I see that girl, I always tell her howdy. Every time I need a drink, always choose a porter. When I need some good PR, I call up Barry Corder. Every time I go down the road, always bright and sunny. Every time I see that girl, I always call her honey. Well, where I get over that road and the police say don't find me, I'm going back to Tennessee and the girl I left behind me. Yeah, man.
Good
Based
stuff.
on a true story.
Good stuff. Well, that's part of what I want to get at. A lot of, and let me give the name correctly. It's the Great Southern Old Time Fiddlers Convention is the event that you've got going next weekend.
Right.
Downtown again, right?
Yeah, Lindsay Street,
Lindsay
901
Street.
Lindsay Street.
Yeah, right there by the Bessie, and you kind of use that lawn. People, well, let's talk about that now. Let's get into that. The people can they play inside, and then they kind of end up congregating outside on the sidewalks and having.
Yeah, it's kind of spread out. That space really lends itself well to people spreading out and jamming outside. It's beautiful, beautiful space, and it's been an honor to work with those guys the last 10 years. So to have it there every year and kind of see it grow and evolve, and people's experience there has really been a blessing.
And we talked about it before, but they used to come here to the auditorium. This was sort of the center of the South anyway.
The first one they held at the courthouse.
Okay.
25 was held in the courthouse, and it was so big they didn't really think of doing it there again. They started doing it in 26 at Memorial Auditorium. It was just built.
Right.
And there's some really cool pictures before it had the kind of awning over the steps of a big group of fiddlers standing on those steps from 26. It's really, really cool. From the Free Press
Right.
or the Times. One of those, the Chattanooga News and Chattanooga Times,
Right.
I think back then it was.
Right.
But really well documented in those papers, and my friend Ken Parr studied a lot on that here at the library when it was just on microfiche before it had been digitized. You know, he
Right.
would go through that looking for pictures, keywords, whatever, but it was before you could search digitally. So it was really time and labor intensive, but really rewarding when he shared that stuff with me. I got real inspired. I had no idea, you know, living here, had no idea of that history. And to be able to connect with the huge names from that time period and know they came to town to take part in that
Yeah, they came
convention
from
was-
all over.
Oh, it was
right?
huge,
I mean,
yeah.
this was the place.
Yeah.
This was the place. It was a competition. They would come and be the best banjo player or fiddle player or guitar player, right?
And bragging rights were huge back, and I guess still are, you know. But it's more than, I mean, more to me and what I've seen of the event, more than the contest. It's about, you know, the old time community, kind of like a family reunion, pretty much. Is
Right.
the way I think of it.
Right.
I mean, it's not. I've had several people comment that, well, you don't offer like a whole bunch in prize money, but you get real good musicians come out here, and I was like, well, maybe that keeps it a little bit. Where, I mean, it's not people just coming just for the money, you know.
Right. Well, that's what I like. The pictures that I've seen over the last decades, it might be an 80-year-old guy with a 12-year-old,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
sitting
Right.
around picking together and teaching and learning and all that.
I would say that's probably one of the most rewarding parts of it to me was to see some of those young people that I was totally unaware of carrying
Yeah.
on the music like they have and come down. And I think one year the guy that won the banjo competition, he was 15, and
Yeah.
then one year it was his brother a couple years before won the fiddle contest, and I think at that time he was 16 or 17.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
and those guys, I remember them coming from, like the banjo player, when he started coming to the convention years ago, he was just playing bones.
Right.
So like a similar hand motion to the claw hammer banjo, but, and being around the music, you know, you're going to pick it up.
Pick
So
it up. Right.
it was really cool to see and hear that evolution. And then I think the picture you're talking about, that young guy,
Yeah.
Wally is his name. He's come every year, sits on the front row. He's always he wants to go first in the singing competition. And but the first year he came, he was carrying a little plastic guitar, you know, and obviously real taken with music. And then he gets to perform every year in the contest and got to perform with some of the bands that year.
That's pretty cool.
You guys got those pictures. It's great.
All right, what are you going to play next?
Well,
While you're getting ready, you
What
guys
about?
are probably, I'm going to say, I bet you've seen Matt either up at Rock City or on a
yeah.
billboard.
Oh,
Look at this.
yeah.
Oh, he's branding
Man.
now.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, you've come a long way
Brandon
from
did,
Sand
yeah.
Mountain.
Oh, man.
What are you going to do?
Well, I could do you one that's kind of about my journey in and through space and time, Barry. If I can remember it. Started way back not a long time ago, where the timeline starts unraveling. A fella called me up on the telegram phone, said you're gonna do some old time traveling. Tune up your fiddle and rosin up your bow, knock a little tune at the old banjo. Where you going next? Well, I don't rightly know, but you probably never know that I was leaving. I'm coming back yesterday evening. I caught a time slip for to take a little trip, summer in Samaria. I never went to college, but the tree of knowledge schooled me, boys, I tell you. Hit the Garden of Eden, I grabbed a bite to eat, an old fruit salad with Adam and Eve. The serpent slipped up with something up his sleeve, said, now where you think you're going? Told him that I gotta keep a rolling. Crawled around my ankle and tried to make me trip. I grabbed him by the tail like an old bull whip. Swung a couple times around and gave a little flip. I think he caught my notion, swimming out in the ocean. Traveling across the land, met a little man, said that the rains were coming. The people all left and they called him funny names, so when it started thundering, grabbed me by the collar and pulled me on the boat. I threw it up in my hand and said, I guess that's all she wrote. He whispered in my ear, I hope she's gonna float. I fell up on the railing when we set to sailing. I was out exploring, I saw a DeLorean parked by the clock tower. I opened up the box and there's Michael J. Fox doing 88 miles an hour. Stars passing by start ringing in my ears. A teen wolf howled to the music of the spears. Clock on the dashboard counting up the years. Fairly well and how to do so. Eyes going back to the future. On my way home, I met a little gnome. Said he had a transmission. There's a big barbecue and a 7 states view. Send you on the Rock City mission. You play a lot of music, make a lot of friends. Watch a $2 bill grow into a 10. In the morning, load it up, do it all again. Down the enchanted trail, I'm strolling. Old time traveler keeps a rolling. Tune up your fiddle, rousing up your bow. Knock a little tune at the old banjo. Where you going next? I don't rightly know. You probably never know that I was leaving. Coming back yesterday evening. Always on time. Yeah, man. Should have had an iPad with all the words on that one, Barry. Man.
That's funny.
Playing or something.
So he's singing about DeLoreans in an old-timey song. No,
Yeah.
that's about what a trip.
Man. Yeah.
For people, and I've said it before, but real quick, you and I met, gosh, probably 20 years ago now? More?
Probably 20, yeah. Right
You
at
started, Matt called and said he was starting to record some of the old-timey guys that you were finding up on Sand Mountain and in the area, and kind of, I know the Library of Congress is sort of famous for having guys go out years ago and record so we don't lose this stuff. And you started doing that, and it's become this whole thing. Like I said, you're up at Rock City. You're doing this convention. You're on billboards. You're still doing the busking. Are you still in charge of the busking for Soundcore?
Kick that up 1st of April, yeah.
And we've had some of those, Emmy Reamer and some of those guys have been in, 9, 10 years old.
Yeah.
I happened to talk to Lance Ledbetter a month ago. Lance does, he has a record label, goes and finds similar stuff and puts it out. Won another Grammy, I think, or two. Dust to Digital this year.
They were actually a sponsor the first couple of years of the convention. I've known Lance maybe 30 years, I guess.
And we've had Lon Eldridge was in a couple of weeks ago. From my point of view, that's a lot of activity. How does it feel to you? I mean, it feels like this music is getting the attention that it's due.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think, it's easy to see things progress technologically and to think you need or want the next big thing in that realm, and to see people reaching back and having appreciation for the history of sound recording, music, is really encouraging to me. And I think, like I said, the younger people getting into this kind of music, I think it's kind of harkening back to a simpler time when you can just pick up an instrument and play, and not really worried about having all your pedals and stuff. But I mean, I like music like that too, but it's just really refreshing kind of to see the return to the older community-based old-time music, where and I think one of the neat things about it is it never was hugely popular, and I think it started getting recorded in the early 20s, and then the Depression hit, and they weren't recording anything, so it was kind of cut off there, but still carried on as like everyday music. So that's...
Well, like I said, we're going to go to school a little bit, but this all thing fascinates me because so many things are happening. If I asked you before we went on the air, started taping, if you had seen Rumble, and I highly recommend it for anybody. It's a PBS special about the role the American Indian played in music. And I got to be honest, this is what I do for a living. It's what I've done for 35 years. I had no idea. It completely is causing me to rethink the whole history of, but Link Ray, who came in later, but the American Indian played a huge role in early music. Have to rethink that. But my point is, Songbirds is another one.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to that museum and see those guitars, I think most people think they're just going to see a guitar in a window. But when you go and have the docents there actually tell you the history of it, and not it was made in 1943. They bring in, here's what was happening in television at the time, and here's what was happening in the country at the time, and here's how this guitar changed, trends, surf music because of guitars or because of amplification and whatnot. That's what I think about when I hear you and Lon and Lance talk anymore. It's not necessarily that song, but it's what was going on when that song was made. And,
right.
And a lot of the music that you play, as you said before, is people would work all day long. They'd come home. They'd want to unwind. Sit on the front porch, and that's what they'd do.
Right, yeah.
And that's
it's like music of everyday life, It's,
that and the passing on of stories, right? I mean,
right.
If some of the songs, some of them are just, Randy, whatever body kind of fun dance things, but some of them are the history of our storytelling.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it goes a lot of old time music. You mentioned the Native American. It goes back to the Native American, the African, the rhythmic influence for sure with the banjo and the counter rhythms.
Right.
And then also the storytelling aspect from the ballads. Right. I mean, you got oral tradition is exactly what it was. That's how it was survived and eventually written down. Or different versions of it were written down. And that's one of the cool things about old time music is you'll get, because it was an oral tradition, you'll get little pockets of communities and musicians that have their own kind of take on tunes or the way they approach bowing or banjo playing. And that's really cool to me, the kind of the regional influence of the music. Kind of, I guess all that would have started when people were hearing it firsthand and before they had a recorded version of it. And that's the version, the recorded version, that's the version. But they would take it home, work on it, and the people around them kind of pick it up from them.
Yeah, you got to kind of figure, let's say I saw you play, I go back to my home and whatever, I don't have an iPad or YouTube to look up how you did it, so I got to figure it out my own way.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
And then so it gets changed a little bit here and there.
Right.
And then the next guy learns from me, and I don't know, it's just a fascinating kind of thing. So
especially on the banjo, I mean, you will hardly ever hear two banjo players play something or their technique be exactly the same. It's a very personal kind of individual thing you work out, but I think you're going after a similar sound and a similar, I guess, tone and approach, but the way you get there is quite different sometimes.
I think Muriel, I think Anderson was at Songbirds. She plays the harp guitar, and I asked her basically how you learn to play it. And she said everybody's different because it's that odd shaped thing. Looks like
it's got the bass up at the top.
It looks like you can't. Who thought of that?
Yeah.
But it's how you physically can actually get to the strings and kind of thing has something to do with it. But she said no two people seem to play it alike. So
yeah, and she's pretty small. I bet that's a challenge. Get over
exactly. I never thought of it that way. Right. All right. Well, let's play something else. I'm talking an awful lot, but this stuff fascinates me.
Had not been Cotton Eye Joe, I haven't met a long time ago. Where'd you come from, where'd you go, where'd you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? $18, $19, $20 years ago, knew a little man named Cotton Eye Joe. Where'd you come from, where'd you go, where'd you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? Where'd you come from, where'd you go, where'd you come from, Cotton Eye Joe? Had not been Cotton Eye Joe, I haven't met
That's good stuff. Talk a little bit about the busking, and in particular, I'm kind of curious. You've been up at Rock City how long?
Ooh, I think this will be 13 years.
So we've had
So-
several people in that do the busking. That's kind of become. I mean, the city's tried for years, couldn't figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
Seems to be working now. And,
Yeah.
and the artists that we've had come in, talk about what a great experience it is.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's and especially with old time music, that was a huge part of it back in the 20s. You know, back when those people were trying to collect it and sell and make records, they would have some of those guys come out and busk in front of the furniture stores where they would sell at first I guess it was the wax cylinders or
Right.
whatever, and they would kind of draw a crowd. But I mean, Chattanooga in particular has pretty rich history with Bessie Smith getting her
Right.
start singing on the street. So
Right.
I mean, I think it's a excellent way to, on so many levels, artistically, it's and as a performer, you've got an audience. You kind of it's very intimidating when you first do it.
I would
you know,
think
it's,
so.
To go out and do it the first time, you kind of have to toughen up a little bit, you know. But it's very, very rewarding, and I mean the interactions you have with people who you normally would never have that
Right.
interaction with. You know, it kind of opens people up to a dialogue and a communication, even sometimes if it's nonverbal. But getting the kids dancing, you know, people. I've always thought of music as the universal language. You know,
Right.
where it cuts through social, racial, economic, all boundaries really, and it something that connects people. And to take it to street level, where you're taking away microphones, any kind of amplification, just one-on-one vibration and communication with people is really something special. And I worked for years at the Tennessee Aquarium and got to play quite a bit as part of my job there, and that really helped me
Right.
develop as a musician. And it was unamplified performances there in some of the galleries, but on my breaks I would go talk to Boots Roots, you know.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, to me, he was just definitely a treasure for Chattanooga, you know, and
Absolutely.
I really miss seeing him. I got to see him shortly after he had stopped performing on the street. I went and visited him, and
So he did stop because I saw Chico in that corner
Yeah,
the other day.
yeah, Chico came by his house when we were sitting on the porch talking. I was talking with Boots, and Chico came by that day to help him take his trash out. It's pretty cool. So I got to hang out with both of them on the porch. And
Chico is the guy. When I was college, he was window washing and
Oh,
the
really?
flower
Yeah.
guy. He was
Yeah.
the Sandy before
yeah,
Sandy.
yeah. Always been. Yeah, I remember him from.
Yeah.
And he's great. He's a wonderful guy to talk to. Very, very interesting.
He can
history.
talk.
And, oh yeah, he can. And Boots
What-
too. He
Yeah,
he
yeah.
had a great.
Well, and I was going to say, one of the things I've noticed, having watched you now for so many years, is the between song, the introductions, the banter kind of thing.
Mhm.
Seems like something you've really tweaked, added to, fine tuned, whatever. That's as much a part of the show as the playing.
Well, yeah. I mean,